is James Holder for IFL TV in association with Macklin's Gym Marbella. I'm at the Liverpool Echo Arena today for the big Liverpool card. With me, I've got Francis Warren. What's happening, friend?
Hey there, mate. You good?
You look like you've done a bit of weight over Christmas. Have you not had Christmas?
I think get fed, mate. It's terrible, isn't it?
What's going on?
No, it's just been training hard. Training hard.
Fair play.
Got to keep it up, mate. Especially after Christmas. I started to look down. I thought, oh God, here it comes back again. So I need to get rid of it.
You looked to my belly when you said that, didn't you? Give it a slight look down.
Which one?
Easy, friend. Let's talk a little bit about the show. Paul Butler, chance to become a two-weight world champion in front of his home crowd. Don't get much bigger than that, does it?
Especially moving back down a weight, which is it's sort of highly unusual.
Natural weight, would you say?
Well, it is his natural weight. I think even in this sort of the latter stages of that fight with Stuart Hall, you could sort of you could tell the size was starting to tell a little bit. Stuart started leaning a little bit on Paul, and if there's no title on the line at bantamweight, then there's no reason to be at your unnatural weight. So being down at Superfly, I think it can clean up the whole division. Obviously, we had a little bit of an upset last week with the WBO title. The Japanese lad who's only 21 years old beat Navarez. So there's a bit of an upset there, and so I think we'll have two new world champions in the first 3 months of the year at super flyweight, and hopefully we can get those two together.
Looking at the rest of the card, Derry Matthews in action. We're waiting on an announcement for his opponent. Anything interesting in the mix for Derry?
Very good, but I can't say too much about it. So if there's one if and one but, and obviously the if will be gone tonight and the but will be gone tomorrow. So Monday we'll have an announcement for you. But it's definitely a big test for Derry. It's a big opportunity. It's one that I think it's why there's a real setback against Stephen Ormond. Fair play to Stephen. Came over to Liverpool, done a job on Derry, and Derry didn't win a round.
He didn't look good that night, Derry, did he?
No, he just didn't look comfortable.
In terms of his other performances.
He didn't look comfortable. He didn't look happy. He didn't. At the end of every round, he was sort of talking to himself and saying, "It's just, if you're half decent lip reader, you could tell it wasn't particularly gracious what he was saying to himself." Cool. But since then, he's done everything that's been asked of him, and he beat Martin Gethin with style. Looked very good doing it. Looked very fit and very healthy. I think being down in Spain is doing the world of good for him. Not just improving his tan. He said his diets. He said he's making weight. I think he said he had breakfast on big breakfast on the day of his weigh-in in the last fight. So
I remember him saying that.
So I think he probably had a bigger breakfast than I did. I was gutted about, but he's this opportunity I think we've secured for him. If he can do that, then it's another lease of life in the career of Derry Matthews. It feels like he's been around forever, but he's not going anywhere yet.
Speaking of people that seem like they've been around forever or quite young, Liam Smith had a great chat with him again today. He's very optimistic about the year. Obviously, a couple of bad setbacks of injuries last year. It's really time for him to kick on now, isn't it?
I think he can do. We all know what he's capable of. And it's got to be frustrating for him last year. I think he thought at the beginning of the year he was injured, and then to sort of overcome that, have a fight, and then have another setback. These guys, they work so hard in the gym, and it's what it's their living. It's what they get up for. Jazza Dickens just said there's not a day that goes by where he doesn't think about becoming a world champion. And when when they're not able to do, display their talents and do what they want to do, it must be very, very frustrating. And especially, I think when there's a couple of guys that have won world titles at Liam's weight, who he knows he's better than now. So, number one, not being able to train and not being able to fight is one thing, but watching other guys who are not quite as good as you being world champion, that must be extremely frustrating. So, there's guys on his radar this year. But first stop is 6th of March, and comes through that he will get a top 5 ranking with the WBO, and we're pushing for that to be certainly an eliminator, if not a final eliminator.
Someone that really impressed me last year and the year before was Kevin Satchell. The way he goes about his work. He's now British, European, Commonwealth champion, looking to kick on for big things. Do you think a fight with him and Paul Butler in the future could be viable?
If Kev keeps winning. Or at least competing at that a high level, I think after this, I think it's, we're pushing for a world title shot for Kev after if he defends his European title against Luke Wilton, then I can't see why he can't attempt a world title at flyweight, and then once he's mixed it with that, that sort of elite level, then you can sort of gauge whether he's going to be an opponent that Paul Butler would want to take seriously. No disrespect for Kev, but he's a sort of a level behind Paul at the moment. But Kevin really impressed me with last time out. Not with the win, but the style of the win. He cut around. He had to really grit and dig his heels in, and the guy looked like he might be coming on a little bit strong, and he just put a stop to it. And then he looked very stylish, very slick. Picked some lovely shots. Got stuck behind his jab and basically busted the guy up. And I thought he looked very impressive. For me, I think it was one of the outstanding performances on that night. But obviously, if we can pull off an all Liverpool world title fight at the Echo, what an event that would be. Fantastic event.
Can't have you here without talking about the emergence of young star Jack Catterall. As I said, a lot of people come to his attention over his win over Brow, then a tough fight against Stalker, which he came through with flying colours. How pleased are you guys with his progress?
Well, you saw against Nathan Bruff that he's got that one punch power, and it certainly was a big punch. People were saying that was a 50-50 fight, and I remember the press conference for that was in Manchester at the Midland, obviously last year. And I said the winner of that would go on to fight Tom Stalker, and that then happened. And Jack displayed different, another variations to his talents, which was being able to finish very well. I thought he was, after the first round, I thought he was going to get Tom out there very early, but Tom again dug his heels in, tried to come back into the fight, and then Tom showed a tremendous amount of heart. Just to get up from that first knockdown was took a real set, a real set of bollocks to get up and do that. But Jack stayed on point, stayed on his game, and he really did take Tom to pieces by the end of it. And there was no complaints from Tom at all. He just said on the night Jack was a much better fighter than him. Obviously, you have to agree. And the one thing about Jack is everyone he's been asked to fight, he's got up and he stepped up and he's done it. Gethin will prove will bring different problems and different. And ask different questions of Jack. And obviously Martin's very rangy, coming up in weight, so he'd have the experience of obviously making the weight and what he can add strength wise to with the difference in coming up from lightweight. So Jack's got to be on point again, and make sure he's on the top of his game. So I think this year could be a big year for him. I think he's the best lightweight prospects we've got in the country.
Final word on James Jazza Dickens, one of the nicest characters in boxing and one of the guys who works the hardest, I'm led to believe. What are your thoughts on him?
Trains very hard, and I like, I've mentioned it already, but I really like what he said about there's not a day goes by where he doesn't think about becoming a world champion, and that to me
he means that as well.
And he really did mean it. It wasn't just what's your dream to be a world champion. He thinks about it every day, and if everyone's got their motivation in life, and that's Jazz's, and it should be every fighter's motivation. Not just to believe that you can do it, but he actually believe you will do it, which is but it's a good way for him to wake up every morning and to go to the gym and to train to try and get to achieve his dreams. One defeat against Galahad.
He caused Galahad a lot of problems.
He did cause Galahad a lot of problems, but there's no shame in getting beat by someone of Galahad's quality. But I'm sure he'd love to avenge that. So hopefully this year, the existing relationship between Queensberry and Mick Hennessy, maybe that's something that can be sat down. We can sit down and discuss that.
Talking to Jazza Dickens' team, the nutrition, for instance, for that fight wasn't right, and Jazza never makes any excuses. I've heard this from other people, but now with the backing of Queensberry, of Frank Warren, of the right nutritionists, of the big TV broadcaster in BoxNation, he can really make a charge for 2015, can't he?
Well, that's the plan, and you know, obviously we try and give our guys every opportunity and try and back them in every way, shape or form we can do. So, you know, I think it's a big year for not just for Jazza, but for everyone on our cards this year. Looking forward to it. It's going to be a big 2015 for Queensberry, for all the fighters, and for BoxNation.
All right, well, listen, Fran, I appreciate you giving me a bit of time. I know you said only a couple of minutes, but we've had you here 10 minutes, so you better go. I don't want you to miss your train.
Only for you, mate. Only for you.
I really do appreciate it. Top man, cheers.
Top man, cheers, mate. All the best.
All.
Cheers.